What is going on, guys? February 21st, 2023. Boy, we have some interesting news here. We are at 3.91 on the 10-year Treasury. So things are starting to break, seemingly. We had this big spike up the last couple of weeks, and this is what we're watching. And this is the dog that wags the tail. And the the debt markets, credit markets are what really kind of gives everything its marching orders, right? The equity markets, everything, like we talked about for a long time, are derived from the credit markets. So we have these spikes up, and again, the credit debt markets are not supposed to spike crazy. They're not supposed to move very crazily. You know, that's a word. They were supposed to be very just docile. They're supposed to be that risk-free reward. They're supposed to be very muted. We're just moving slowly, providing stability. And at the end of the day, the bond market will be shown as the Ponzi really that it is. I've been likening the bond market to an electrical strip plugged into itself. When you are taking out a bond, giving government extra money to fund ridiculous things, and then literally, as Greg Foss actually was talking to him this morning on Spaces here, and you have three things that are my piece of paper here I was taking notes on. Bond risks: inflation risk, credit risk, and liquidity risk. The big thing I was asking was, Greg, when you have government that doesn't produce anything, it's not like, oh hey Apple, here's some cash so we can go produce some value and some dividends and sell some products. The government doesn't do any of that. So you're literally just paying the government your currency, your time and wealth, to then just have them either tax you more in the future to pay off that bond that they owe you and the coupon, or just print more currency to pay itself off, which will then indirectly cause inflation, which will increase your cost of living, reducing your standard of living. That's it. That's all bonds are. So when people start seeing this trade for what it is, especially now that's negative yielding, I mean, the fact that people give the government their currency, to then take on a negative real yield is absolutely astounding to me. But again, when you have people that have never questioned anything in their life, they've grown up in this environment. It's like, how do you know, or how does a fish know he's wet if he's grown up in the water his entire life, right? If you've grown up in this in your entire life, how do you question things? How do you find the real answers when all you're told is that bonds are great and they're a risk-free reward, when they're in reality they're a reward-free risk? It's a bondage. It's bondage. They're putting you into slavery and saying, hey, we're going to tax you more in the future to pay off your own coupon payment to make this currency back so we can pay you back and all the other bondholders, or we're going to create inflation by printing more currency and facilitating that more, fractional reserve lending, whatever it is, and your cost of living is going to go up, your standard of living will come down, but hey, you'll at least get your bond payment back. This is clown world. And when people start seeing this trade, that Bitcoin is the way out, which it's still about 24,500 right now, and holding steady and really kind of decoupling a little bit from all these other assets, that's when the world really turns. We're at $400 billion in market cap for Bitcoin, yet global bonds are 400 trillion. I mean, you can see the amount of 10, 100, 1,000x easily. We still have to go with Bitcoin, and it's not that Bitcoin is getting more valuable per se. However, you can make an argument for that. It's just that the currency is falling, right? The denominator continues increasing because the number of currency units you have to find to buy that 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch or buy that carton of eggs keeps increasing. You have to find more and more of those currency units, so the denominator keeps falling or expanding, I guess. And so the value of these things keep falling in a sense, right? The price of Bitcoin keeps rising because they're inverted. It's inverse of each other. And that's why we try to show these charts over and over again and understanding what's happening. So we'll look at the Forex here, the DXY. So again, we're above 104, which makes perfect sense since the bonds are selling off and the yields are rising. So people are kind of flooding into whether it's Bitcoin again or it's maybe some commodities. It's the dollar. People are wondering, hey, what is happening? What is happening? So we'll look at the commodities here really quick. 76, again, oil just getting hit just a little bit, and then gold and silver kind of flat. So the DXY is what's kind of sucking up some of this liquidity of the bonds selling off, and everything else kind of stable for the most part. So this is the game. This is the game being played. If you are in bonds, and you're in this, which is most people's 401ks, pensions, all this stuff, retirement, you are getting crushed, and you're going to continue getting crushed long term. This is the free market healing itself. And we have a lot of healing to do, as we've been talking about over and over and over and over again. All the indices getting hit a little bit, down 1.5%. Obviously, when you have the rates moving like that, the yield is jumping, then you're going to have generally the equity markets, the tail getting hit here a bit. So let's see though what's going on in the mempool. Let's see if Bitcoin's running. We always want to say Bitcoin comes under massive scrutiny every single day, all the time. No one ever asks fiat, right? Again, the fish is in water. He doesn't know if he's wet. He just assumes he is. That's life. Everything is just wet and or just in water because he doesn't know any different. And it's just like anyone growing in a fiat monetary inflationary system. You don't expect any different. You don't think anything different. When the government's telling you we're going to steal 2% of your wealth each year, and they're stealing 5, 10, 15% now, you don't really question it that much. You're like, okay, whatever. Newsflash, governments are working at the consent of the governed. Rights come from God or something above, not from the government. And money, the value is from value creation. The value of money, and money itself comes from value creation, comes from people, from private sector, not the government. The government doesn't produce money. The government doesn't make money. The government doesn't have those assets. And the government doesn't produce rights, just like in the founding documents. Rights come from above, and money creation comes from people. That's it. So we've been hoodwinked. The government has told these lies. Go watch The Sea Beast, unbelievable kids movie on Netflix, talking about this entire movie is based on these people warring and going to war over and over again because government continually tells these stories and these lies to prop up its kingdom, prop up its empire, based in the 1700s or 17th century. So go watch that movie. It's an incredible, have your kids can watch it, and in any person, young or old, can understand what is going on in the world we're living in. So Bitcoin is running, things are great, the sun is up, Bitcoin is running, and as Nolan Bowerley says, all we have to do is talk about what is new. And he is sick actually right now, so I wish him well, and hopefully he gets better, because we got some big stuff to do this year. I know he's ready for Bitcoin Miami and all the great things going on. So Bitcoin is running, beautiful stuff, and like I said, we have to be cognizant of what's going on here. We have $31.5 trillion in debt. This is absolute clown world, and this will just continue to grow. This is going to expand. You have this debt doom loop that Luke Gromen, everyone talks about. 4.6 trillion in receipts, in tax revenue coming in. We're going to get to a point where our interest and our budget deficit is greater than those tax receipts. That'll come probably in this decade. And then what? This is this doom loop where you're having to borrow more, right? Bonds, the thing we just talked about, you're having to borrow more of these bonds to get into this game of trying to pay off the early bond payments you took on before. And while these are rolling over, now you're rolling over at higher and higher interest rates. So they're going to have to continue printing to keep the bond price or the yield down. Prices will go up. So people will think they're getting super wealthy. But in the end of the day, inflation will be rampant. Their cost of living will go up, and their living standard will come down. And this is a song and dance as old as time. This is not anything new. We're 110-20% debt to GDP. So please, there are things going on all over the world right now. Get prepared. Bitcoin, gold, and silver. Get outside the monetary system. Food, energy, water, security, firearms, ammo, and community. Building a community. What we're doing here, this is the most important thing we can do to survive what's going on. We're going to continue watching this in our 5-10 minute market update every single day to see what's going on, because we have to be informed as to what is actually happening, and we're going to go more in depth. We got a lot of cool things coming up. We're going to be teaching kids. I'm going to start teaching my kids. I might do it on a new channel, quite honestly. I'm going to be teaching my kids basic financial literacy, assets, pay for your liabilities, all the things, the great things Robert Kiyosaki has taught for 30 plus years, and talking to them, my children, a 6, 4, and 2-year-old and newborn, about what to do and documenting that over time. And hopefully it helps other children as to what the world really looks like, and that rights and money creation don't come from the government. Government is there to work at the consent of the governed, and that is it. They are nothing more, nothing less. They are a mechanism to uphold the rights and rule of law. That's really all they're there to do. Border security, the military, which they're doing a terrible job of all those things, and the fiat is what breaks the system. So teaching the children this, the children, the youth are the future, and we need to start getting into this culture that we're in. We're changing definitions and changing language in this war on language, that we are constantly shifting things. So people have no idea what's going on. Bitcoin is the measuring stick. It is the control experiment. It's 7th grade science. Just like Greg Foss said, it's 11th grade math or 7th grade math now. It's 7th grade science as well. You want an experiment to only have one variable. When we have these experiments where we're constantly moving interest rates and fiat currency so broken that it's always moving, the goalposts are moving. How are you going to do a science experiment when everything's moving all over the place, when you're constantly going into debt and everything's running away from you? We want things to be running towards us, and that's the new world we're going to be in. So I appreciate you coming to my TED Talk. I appreciate your time and energy. It's the most important asset we have. Time is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is time. This is not financial advice. This is freedom advice at the end of the day. This is all it is. Build community. Please share this with someone you think might not understand this, might need to understand this, might not get it, whatever it might be. Truth is not algorithm friendly. And asking questions and getting to the bottom of things is not algorithm friendly. So the only hope we have is to have more of us start doing this and blogging and YouTubing and then spreading these messages. So please do that if you feel so strongly about that. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.